What up, what up? I'm Aaron Yara, and you're listening to the Effective Nerdcast. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Effective Nerdcast. I hope everybody is safe and doing well. Things are kind of crazy still with the coronavirus and everything being on lockdown. As many of you know, I live in New York, so we have a lot of cases here, so things are still a little wild and crazy. I'm still working from home. I know most people I know are currently working from home as well. I just hope everybody is doing well, doing safe, taking care of their mental health, because I know that's really important, especially when we're inside a lot and we don't have a lot of human interaction. Hope everything's good. Before we start the episode, I hit a little milestone this week. I did my 100th interview for the website, and I can't believe I hit that number, to be honest. I feel like I just started doing interviews. I mean, the website itself is just a little over 2 years old. So the fact that I've done 100 interviews, it ends up being like slightly more than one a week. I had a few weeks where I posted 2. I think I had a few weeks where I posted 3. But then there are, to make up for it, there were a few weeks where there weren't any. But this week's interview is with Drew F. Lee of Incandescence Comics. Drew was really awesome and provided a lot of really insightful information for creators. So head over to the website and check that out. And yay me, 100 interviews. It's crazy. Jokes aside, I am really honored to have spoken to 100 different independent creators. I think the wealth of information that all of us have got from these interviews is astounding. Everybody kind of has their own style and their own thoughts about art and creativity. Having 100 different voices where we can go read what they think is amazing. And not even just patting myself on the back, but I really like having, all of the information right there. It's great for me too. I go back and read the interviews all the time whenever I want to see how other people think about creativity. As I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, I ask a lot of the same questions in my interviews, and that's not just me being lazy and having like a question template that I send out to people. I kind of have like a bank of questions and I pull 10 questions to ask every creator. But since they all come from the same bank of questions, you have multiple creators answering the same question over and over. I did that very intentionally because I want people to be able to compare and contrast the different viewpoints that each creator has. So yeah, I've asked about how people feel about collaboration. Now we have 20 or 30 creators who have talked about collaboration. I think it's great just to have that wealth of information. So go check out the interviews. Go check out my newest interview with Drew F. Lee. It was really great. I was going to wait a while to do this episode until we covered a few more kind of basic topics before we start jumping into topics like this, but this topic has been very requested ever since, 2 weeks ago I did the What Creators Can Do During Quarantine and Lockdown episode, and I had a lot of people come to me and ask if I can do an episode about search engine optimization. On top of that, a lot of my friends who are also creators have come up to me over the past 2 weeks and kind of said that they're really sick of, or they're kind of burnt out on posting to social media for promotion. And I get it. I've never been a huge social media person myself. Obviously, I do post on social media for the website just to promote the different pieces of content on there. I do love talking to people. I've made a lot of friends online, but in general, social media just isn't my favorite thing to do. And a lot of you have come to me and told me that you're kind of burnt out on promoting on there as well, because Well, there's a variety of reasons. You have one, there's a lot of arguing on social media. There's a lot of people calling each other out and just being mean and nasty on social media all the time, and that's really a bummer. And on top of that, when a lot of us promote our content, we don't see a lot of engagement or a lot of results from that. Part of that is because social media kind of evens the playing field when it comes to creators and artists. It's very competitive and the market is very flooded on that. If you're putting out a piece of art, there's thousands of other creators also trying to get people to look at their art. It's kind of hard to build an audience on social media. Obviously, there are a lot of guru types out there that want, they'll teach you, here's how to build 10,000 followers in a week, but it doesn't really work like that. The only thing that really works for social media is to talk to people and engage with people and make friends. But if you're trying to sell your work, it's kind of difficult to sell your art one person at a time. You kind of want to build your audience larger than making one friend at a time. I mean, most of us can't do that in our real lives, just build up an army of friends. We usually have our few friends, and then we have our acquaintances, and that's about it. Social media isn't really that much different unless, I don't know, you're a large company and can spend a lot of money on advertising, or if you just happen to go viral, or there's a few reasons why your audience grows really big. As you do gain in popularity, your social media following will get bigger, but in general, that takes a long time and it takes a lot of hard work. And a lot of people that have large social media followings have it because they have great content. And it's not because they're out there plugging themselves every day, it's because they have great content that gets very popular and then people come to them. But a lot of you have told me that you're kind of burnt out on the the social media rat race a little bit, and you wanted to know about alternatives where you can promote yourself without the use of social media. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Now, this is going to be a multiple part episode because there is a lot of information to cover, especially if you're very new at this and you don't really understand the basics. For the next few weeks, we're going to be discussing search engine optimization and how you can use that to get more people looking at your art or looking at your content. Just a bit of background on how my website works. Across all my social media platforms, I do have a few thousand followers. However, my website gets way more traffic than the amount of followers I have on social media. Even more so, if you think if I have a few thousand followers on social media and I post a piece of content, how many people are actually clicking and going and reading that piece of content? Like a handful usually about 12. So my website typically gets over 10,000 visitors a month, and I don't know, maybe 200 of them come from social media, and then the other 9,800 come from search engine optimization. I don't want to jump ahead before we kind of go over the basics, but I just wanted to let you know that this method of getting people to your website is very important, and it works. It works for me at least, and I know for a lot of other creators, especially bloggers, it really works to grow your website. So first off, I kind of want to give you my definition of search engine optimization, just so we know where we're coming from on this. To me, the act of search engine optimization is making sure that the pages on your website are set up in the best way possible, where it's best for both the people who go to your website and for search engines to crawl your website. That may seem a little, like, the definition may seem a little weird now, but we're going to get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is, what is a search engine? Because we all use them, right? We all go to Google or Bing, or we went to Yahoo, or if you're old like me, you use like Alta Vista. My dad actually ran a search engine when I was little. It was called Real Links, and I liked it. He was a little bit ahead of his time there, but we all use search engines. So what a search engine is it's essentially a database with a listing of resources, or a listing of web pages and websites. Now, when you go to the search bar, most of us think of it as, oh, I type what I want into the search bar and then the results come up. But really, what your search is doing is querying the database to pull out web pages that match what you typed in. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? Like, yeah, we're pulling data from a database based on what we typed into the search bar. But I just want you to have it in that mindset of not thinking of it as like, oh, chocolate chip cookie recipe, here we go. But actually think of it in terms of you're making a request for data and you're receiving said data in the form of a search results listing. So the next step of that is kind of how search engines get their data. Search engine companies such as Google have artificial intelligence that are often called web crawlers. And it's essentially a piece of code that will go to websites, read the page, and then index the information of the page into their database. If you can go to Google and type in something and your website comes up, that means that your website has been indexed into that search engine's database, which means that one of their crawler scripts has probably gone over your web page at some point in time. Web crawlers work, they kind of have like a spider web effect because almost every website has hyperlinks that go out to other web pages or go out to other websites that aren't even on the same domain name. Like, click here to go to so-and-so's website. Web crawlers know to click those and go through and index the pages on that page. Then they click the hyperlinks on that page and then go and index the pages on those pages. Then you can kind of see how it grows exponentially as the crawler goes from hyperlink to hyperlink on each web page. Now there are not to get too deep into it, there are different types of hyperlinks. There are do follow and no follow hyperlinks tell search crawlers to not go through and index those pages. I believe Google recently said that sometimes they still might if they think that the no follow link is relevant, but that's kind of a different story for a different time. But essentially, search engines will have scripts or artificial intelligence software that'll go out on the internet and scan and index as many pages as possible. And they're pretty good at it. Sometimes it could take some time, to get, if you put up a new web page, it might not be able to be pulled on search engines for a while, but there are billions and billions of web pages out there. So the fact that usually you get indexed within a few days is pretty impressive because there's so much information out there on the internet. Kind of the next level of that is how keywords and rankings work. So a keyword is what you type into the search engine. So for example, best chocolate chip cookie recipe. Essentially, every time you type into a search engine, what you receive is a list of web pages numbered 1 through however many there are. There's usually hundreds of thousands, if not millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of web pages that get pulled on any specific search, right? You even see it underneath the search engine sometimes. It'd be like, oh, we pulled 45 million results in under a second. You're like, okay, thank you. Typically, we look at the first or maybe second page of results. If you think about just the first 2 pages of search results, you basically have 20 slots because there's usually 10 search results per page. So essentially, the 20 best web pages that pull up for that keyword. So, for example, best chocolate chip cookie recipe will pull up a certain amount of web pages and put them in a certain order. However, awesome chocolate chip cookie recipe may pull up some of the same websites, maybe some different websites, and some in a different order than the other ones. So for example, you may have, say, like Food Network's chocolate chip cookie article maybe in the second place result for best chocolate chip cookie recipe, but if you type in awesome chocolate chip cookie recipe, it may be number 1. And then if you type in chocolate chip cookie recipes with no descriptor word at the beginning, it may come up 5th. The way that works is when a search engine indexes your web page, it takes all of these different factors from your website, and we'll see how it stacks up against other web pages that come up for that keyword, or it kind of just figures out how good your article is, and or how good your web page is, and how it fits into kind of the whole scheme of the rest of the web pages that are published on that specific topic. So really what search engine optimization is making sure that your website is set up in a way where you're going to come up in the top results for a specific keyword, hopefully ones that are related to your work or ones that are related to your content. There's also what's known as local SEO, which is more for brick and mortar businesses, but I know some of you out there do have physical stores. Local SEO is based around pulling search results, not just for what's in your niche, but what's in your niche in the city or surrounding area of where you live specifically. Ranking for the best plumber may not be the best, because people searching for best plumber are gonna potentially get plumbers from all over the United States or all over the world, depending on where you're searching from. For example, I'm from the Albany area of New York, so typing in best plumbers in Albany, plumbers in my area want to rank for best plumbers in Albany as opposed to just best plumbers. And that's kind of how local SEO works, is that you're using the same concepts, but you're kind of restricting the geographic location of where you want the search results to come from. And that's a really important thing for brick and mortar businesses or businesses that do have a physical location. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone over how the basics of it work, just as a recap, so you put out a web page, a search engine will send out a crawler. The crawler will crawl your web page and all the links and pull all the information from your web page. Then the search engine will figure out what your web page is about, and then it'll check it against the other web pages in that topic. When somebody searches something that's similar to what your web page is about, you'll come up somewhere in the search results. The act of search engine optimization is making sure that your website is set up in the best way possible, where you'll come up higher in the search results. Statistically, most people will only look at the top 3 search results, and the top 3 search results get the majority of the traffic. However, being on the first page is very important, because most people will not click to the second page of Google. Most of the time, if they don't see the result on the first page, they will go back and put in a different search. Because that's kind of how we think, and that's really the power of search engines, is we're so used to search engines giving us the best results that instead of saying, oh, like, I need to keep looking through this query for a better web page, we think that we're the problem, and we and we go back and we change what we put in the search bar to try to pull the relevant website that we're looking for. When it comes to certain keywords, you really want to be ranking on the first page, primarily in the top 3. And I'm sure this has happened to you sometimes, and if you don't do anything for SEO, I'm sure you've seen this happen before, where you post a page on your website and traffic just starts coming to it, even though you haven't put it on social media, or you have put it on social media and you know that only like 3 or 4 people clicked it, yet 100 people a month are coming to it. That usually means that you're ranking pretty high for a keyword. Now, there are a lot of tools out there that'll tell you where you're ranking, but an easy way to do this is go to Google Chrome and open up an incognito window and type something similar to your website and just see where you come up in the search results. The reason why I say use an incognito window is because some search engines will, like say you're using Google Chrome and you're logged into your Gmail account, Google kind of knows your search history and kind of who you are as a person, so they will rearrange the search results based on your personal preferences. Like, for example, if I'm not using incognito and I go to search for something nerdy or something about, say, comic books, a lot of times my website will come up in the search results, even though for everyone else I don't rank for that keyword at all. But it knows that I run the website, so it's gonna show me my own stuff sometimes because it thinks it's the most relevant for me. The next thing I want to say, and I know I kind of said it in the previous episode, is search engine optimization is not about tricking the algorithm. If it really were about tricking the algorithm, whenever you would search something, it would just be full of like scammer web pages or spammy web pages. And it's not. There's a reason why when we want to know something or when we need a piece of information, we just go right to the search engine and look for it. It's because we know that we can rely on it for accurate results, and we know we can pull information off of it very easily. So if the algorithm was actually trickable, is that a word, trickable? If you were able to trick the algorithm, then search engines probably wouldn't be as popular as they are, because we wouldn't be getting the most relevant results. We'd be getting a lot of scammy results. Search engines overall have an incentive to give good user experience and to promote web pages that also give good user experience. Most websites run ads, like for example with Google, most websites run ads from Google. Also, Google runs ads right in the search results, as I'm sure you've all seen. If you're sending someone to a web page that is spammy or has a scammer or is dishonest, people are going to be less likely to click on the ads either on their website or on your website. Talking as if I'm a search engine operator. So really what search engines want is to have their search results filled with really high quality websites that are very good for the people who are searching for whatever search we're putting in the bar, whatever query that we're doing. It's not really about tricking the algorithm. It's more about making sure that your website is up to a good standard and that people really would enjoy going to your website, because there is an incentive there to have high quality websites show up in the search results. Now, there are many factors that affect the SEO of your webpage. We're going to go over this more in depth next week, but I did kind of want to give a little bit of an overview. There are things like internal linking structure, which is how you hyperlink to the different web pages on your site, and kind of your overall site structure. That includes the links that are in your menus, the links that are in the text. There's any link on your website that goes to a different web page, including like your categories and your tags. That kind of gives your website a structure. If you think of your website as kind of like a building, the links between the pages are almost like the beams in the foundation and just the overall structure of how your website is set up. There's also external links, which are links that point to web pages that aren't on your domain. These almost work kind of like a bibliography or a works cited page on an essay, where you're showing that you're kind of showing your work to the search engine. So for example, if you're writing about a person and you link to that person's website, Google can read that and say, oh, they're talking about so and so. They link to their website, so at least we know that they're pulling them to the website. Or if the person also has, say you're writing an article about an actor and you link to their Wikipedia page, their IMDb page, and their personal website, maybe their production company's website, Google can read that and say, all right, this guy kind of knows what he's doing. He has all the right links there. He's linking to all the websites that we know to have accurate information about this actor. There's also technical things about your website, like does your website have a meta description? Are the images optimized and have correct tagging and descriptions? The speed of your website factors into it. I believe there are hundreds of factors that search engines take into account when they decide to rank your webpage for a specific query, and they all kind of have to do with giving good user experience. So next week I want to go over some do's and don'ts for SEO. the SEO landscape changes all the time because search engines update their algorithms all the time based on either improving the algorithm or based on things that have happened in the world. For example, search engines have been impacted by the coronavirus, specifically websites that give out medical information, because there's a lot of misinformation going around about coronavirus, and search engines want to make sure that people are getting the best information possible. So, for example, so if you have a this essential oil will cure the coronavirus website, it's probably going to get downranked pretty hard right now based on the search engine algorithm around the coronavirus. So even though the SEO landscape is always changing, there are still some best practices, and that's what I'm going to talk about next week is things that you can do specifically to increase it here. Now, before we go, I kind of just wanted to give an overview of how this whole process works, because I know we went over a lot of information today. So I wanted to give you a step-by-step of a time where it's worked for me and kind of how it continues to work. Most of us love the TV show The Office. I know it's one of the most watched shows on Netflix, even though it's been off of the air for years now, right? If you're familiar with The Office, you're familiar with the character Creed Bratton, or the real person Creed Bratton, excellent musician on top of being hilarious on The Office. So I was doing what is called keyword research, and that is where you use data from search engines to see what people are searching for. And I noticed that there were a lack of articles about the funniest Creed Bratton quotes from The Office. And at the time, the only website that really had a really good webpage about it was BuzzFeed. And my wife and I were watching The Office at the time, which we're basically watching it all the time, but that's besides the point. Nah, but we did watch it all the way through again when the baby was just born, and we were, just taking care of the baby. Couldn't really do much. Definitely overly sleep deprived. The Office was a nice comforting thing during that really stressful time of having a newborn. But anyways, I found out that BuzzFeed had a really good article that was the best Creed Bratton quotes. Other than that, there weren't really a lot of other good web pages that had that. So I decided to make that page, and I put it out on my website. And it took a few weeks, but eventually I was ranked. I was in the number 2 spot under BuzzFeed, and now, at least last time I checked a few days ago, I was number 2 and BuzzFeed was number 3, and someone else came up and bumped us out. So someone else saw the same thing I did, that not a lot of people had written about this topic, and they made one, and they made sure it was better than mine, and they made sure it was better than the BuzzFeed article. So then, since their article is better than both of ours, they got bumped up to the first of the search results. And now I'm second and BuzzFeed is third. I know me and BuzzFeed kind of flip-flop from time to time. Thousands of people every month search Google for Creed Bratton quotes, funniest Creed Bratton quotes, funny Creed Bratton quotes, Creed Bratton The Office quotes, Creed quotes. There are so many different combination of words where you can search for quotes from Creed Bratton from The Office. And I rank for a lot of them. BuzzFeed ranks for a lot of them. The third website, which I don't remember the third website that we rank with right now in the top 3, but that third website, we're all high up in the rankings for all these different combination of words about quotes from Creed Bratton. Those thousands and thousands of search results are kind of split up amongst our 3 websites, because like I said previously, most people don't go past the third search result, and most people don't go off the first page. So for some of those, I do rank like 6th or 8th, and BuzzFeed's number 1, or for some of them I rank number 1 and BuzzFeed and the other website are like 4 and 5, or it's just a whole, because every query has its own set of search results. So anything you type into search engine, you're getting the specific results for exactly what you typed. Now there are like other things like when it corrects your spelling, that's that's different because it'll correct it and then show you the results for the corrected spelling. But that's something else. That's something else entirely. So what happened was, now that I wrote the Creed Bratton article and then it got ranked, I get hundreds of people to my website every month because of that article I wrote. And it's a silly little article that I wrote. It's about the office, but I'm a nerdy, geeky guy, and that's kind of what my website is about. So even though that web page isn't specifically about helping creators, it is something that kind of fits into my personality and the person that I am. So I did feel comfortable putting it on my website. I didn't feel that it was spammy or anything like that. Out of the categories on my website, I do have one called culture and lifestyle, and that's where I put articles like that, where I write them just for fun. Sometimes I want to just write something for fun, and I don't want to pour out information all the time. I'm allowed to do that. Get off my back. I'm just kidding. When I posted the Creed Bratton quotes on social media, I want to say I got like 14 hits. Since I posted that article, I've gotten over 100,000 people to my website. And that's kind of where I wanted to leave off today. Was I know a lot of you are burnt out on social media because you're getting the 14 clicks. Here's a method where you could be getting tens of thousands of clicks, hundreds of thousands of clicks. I've noticed that this isn't like a one-off where I wrote this article about The Office. It gets 100,000 clicks and only 14 of them come from social media. I've noticed this across the board, not just for me, but for other creators. If you can make a really good webpage or write a really good article, you can pull in exponentially more people than you can with your social media profile. I'm not saying give up on social media and only work on SEO. It's good to have a balance of both. And besides, you do want to talk to your audience and engage with your audience, even if they don't always want to engage with you, which is something that I've noticed recently. A lot of people have told me, well, that's the whole reason why I did this episode, is because you came to me and said, hey, kind of getting sick of social media. I know a lot of people are concerned with coronavirus, so when they go on social media, that's really what they're looking for, is news articles or to talk to people about coronavirus. So a lot of creators have noticed a drop-off in their engagement because we're in a national crisis. Who wants to talk about indie comic books? I mean, I do, but that's besides the point. I want to give you another method where you don't have to use social media at all and you can still get results. And that is, in my opinion, search engine optimization. This is the best way to get people to your website outside of social media. And in many cases, it is far, far more effective than posting on social media. All right, so next week, we're going to go over what you need to do or things you can be doing in order to improve your search engine optimization for your website. Hopefully, if you put in all the tactics that I tell you about, you'll be able to see more traffic coming in your website, even on days when you don't post on social media. All right, that was this week's episode. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about next week. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm pretty knowledgeable on this topic. I know it's kind of hard to explain because it's kind of very abstract yet data-driven at the same time. So it's kind of like concrete and abstract at the same time. So it's kind of hard to think about. But if you have any questions, I also do some freelancing for SEO. So if you do want me to go over your webpage and kind of give you a to-do list of things you need to do, we can work something out with that as well. But until next time, stay safe, keep it cool, peace. Thank you for listening to the Effective Nerdcast. For more information on how to step up your work, please visit effectivenerd.com. You can find us on social media at effectivenerd. You can also email us at effectivenerd@gmail.com. Effective Nerdcast is hosted by Aaron Yara. The theme song was created by MC Graffiti.